Hi, angels, and welcome. I'm your host, Lisa Everding, founder of Earthy Angels, and I'm on a mission to empower women to live authentically and to take exquisite care of themselves. You can find us on earthyangels.com or head over to our show notes to follow us on socials. Hi angels, and welcome back to another episode of Earthy Angels Connect. I recorded an episode today around the past and how I've been keeping myself a bit comfortable, but how Mercury retrograde has highlighted a few things for me from the past that I've had to work through that have shown up again in order for me to cross this next threshold and go on to this next stage of up-leveling in my journey. And it dawned on me that it turned into a little 3-part series. I ended up recording 3 episodes in a row across 3 days because we've gone through a Mercury retrograde, a solar eclipse. We've got a lot going on energetically, and it turned into a little 3-part series. So after today, I'm going to dive into episode 10, which will give you a bit of an insight as to how I up-leveled my confidence. And then episode 11 is going to take you into how I feel this new beginning starting to emerge, but how it's all tied together, that sometimes we have to work through a bit of that past stuff that keeps replaying out in order for us to embark on our next journey. So let's dive in, my friends. Hello, my beautiful friends. I just want to start by saying a massive thank you for all of the support that I have been getting since I launched my podcast. This was very much out of my comfort zone because it was really putting me out there in a wider community outside of my comfortable safety net of my local Earthy Angels community. So it took a lot of courage, and I have been getting so many emails, so many messages, social messages, comments and hugs in the studio from women that have been coming up and saying to me, thank you. You have been such an inspiration to me. I can relate to so many things that you're sharing about, and just please keep them coming. I've been like in tears this morning over one of the emails that I got from the girls this morning, and there is a bit of heightened energy around. At the time of me recording, we're in the middle of a solar eclipse season. We are in April. There is a Mercury retrograde happening. And this is kind of what I wanted to talk about with you today. What has come up for me today, because again, I share from experience, I share from what's happening, I share from authenticity and truth, knowing that we all go through similar things in our own unique way, our own unique circumstances, but sometimes don't know how to handle them, how to process them, what we can do around them. So I just want to try and give you a little bit of insight, a little bit of perspective, maybe a little bit of guidance of some things that help me that can help you. So that is what my platform is for, is to just help empower you guys, to help inspire you guys, to give you ideas. And I get so much inspiration that flows straight through me from source, from my meditation, from a lot of the work that I do. I get so much wisdom that pours through me that I just want to share it. I share it in the studio when people come into class. I share in my blogs, on my social media platforms. And I just have this real desire to put myself out there. But I've been keeping myself comfortable, as you're about to see with what I've gone through in the last couple of days. I've been keeping myself comfortable, and Mercury retrograde can bring up past things for you. It can highlight things for you because I don't fully understand astrology. I'm learning. I would love to make myself an expert in it, as I would many things. But I see what happens with people around me, people that come into the studio, people I'm chatting with, and I go, everybody's feeling a little bit this way at the moment. It could be exhaustion, fatigue, or everybody's finding things coming up for them, or everybody's finding they've got this amazing surge of energy. So I've started to notice over the years how much the planetary, the astrology, the moon cycles, what's happening in the collective can impact us in our own individual lives. So even if you don't fully understand it yet, that's okay. Just start to have a bit of curiosity and have a little bit of openness and a little bit of awareness and see what is going on around you. But Mercury retrograde can show up things for you from the past because it's one of the planets are going backwards. Like I said, I don't fully understand it, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in this area, but I know it can have impacts on technology, it can have impacts on communication, transport, all sorts of things that you're working on. And they say in times of Mercury retrograde, it's a time to slow down. It's maybe a time to back off on a couple of things, to inwardly reflect, to look at what's been happening for you, instead of making these great big plans and travel or having all of these inspiring ideas. Sometimes just take a moment back to just rest and heal and restore, ready for your new wave of energy to come. And this morning I was on my walk and I'm about to go on a retreat in Ubud in 4 weeks time. I'm so pumped. And I was thinking about on my walk this morning how different I have, the different woman that I am now compared to what I was, say, 7 years ago when I embarked on my first retreat. I can't remember, it was about 7 or 8 years ago when I went on my first retreat as a guest. And so I started writing down all of these things of how I was feeling, how I was back then, because most of my community know me as how I am now. And I took myself back a little bit and I was just writing it all out. I went, oh, this will make a good post, and was just writing everything down. And then I come back home and I was diving in a little bit deeper and I started to feel a bit of emotion come up, and I'm like, after my morning rituals, okay, I just need to jump on and have a chat and record this because it's going a little bit deeper than my original post, and it's going to take you guys ages to read, so I may as well just get on and talk about it instead. So as I was writing everything down, I'll share a little bit about what I wrote actually, if I can bring it all back to memory. I was looking back at the woman I was 7 or so years ago. Back then I had a personal training business, group fitness business. My kids were younger. I was working from home because that was what suited my lifestyle at the time with the ages that my kids were at, because I wanted to be able to go to all their sporting things. I wanted to be there for them when they come home from school. I wanted all of these things as a mum, and I wanted my work to basically fit in around that work-life balance, right? Like a lot of us want to have. But I also had a lot of fears. I had a lot of doubts. I knew I had more in me that was coming, but I guess I just had this level of, I'd lost my confidence, I'd lost myself in this role of being a mum, and I was comfortable in my little role that I was doing for work, but I had a desire to do more. I didn't know back then how it was going to unfold or what it was going to look like, but I just knew that there was more in store for me. And even back then, I had so many fears and so many doubts about putting myself out there. I was really afraid of what people thought of me. I was scared to put myself fully out there in the community because there would be better trainers than me, or there are people who are more qualified than me, or there were people that were better than me. I just kept sizing myself up against so many other people that made me feel inferior, that made me feel not good enough, that I held myself back. And I would speak to Tom's my rock, and I would speak to him about a lot of my desires of what I would love to do one day. And I just lacked this confidence and this self-belief in me. I was freaked out by getting on a Facebook Live. I was freaked out by talking to anybody on socials or really putting myself out there in the public community forums and things like that. And I was just happy in my little comfort zone. And I would say to Tom, I had these ideas of maybe doing a podcast one day, of having a bigger community, of putting myself, because I had these ideas of how I wanted to empower women on the inside. And I could do this, and I wanted to develop this online course, and all these things I wanted to do. And then I would say to him, but I don't look like, I would look at other social media influencers and I would go, I don't look like that, or I'm not that young anymore, and all of these limiting beliefs. And And Tom would say to me, he's like, babe, people love you because they can relate to you. Real women relate to you. Real women don't relate to a lot of the fakeness on social media. And real women can pick that up, and they love you because you're just authentic. They love you because they can relate to you and you're just real, and you will appeal to the right woman. And he would always give me these pep talks and always kind of build up this worth in me, but I still lacked a lot of confidence in myself. And I just was hung up in this place of, I just don't feel good enough. I don't feel worthy enough in myself. I don't feel pretty enough. I don't feel fit enough. I don't look like them. All the things that kind of hold us back and keep us small. I was going through all of those things, just lacking confidence and lacking self-belief. And then you kind of find yourself in this role of, as a mum, sometimes you can feel like you want change in your career, or you want to do something different. You watch your husband or your partner or your friends watching what they're doing, and sometimes you can feel like you put your dreams to the side because you're too busy running a household, you're taking care of everybody else, you're watching your partner fulfill their dreams and have these dreams inside you, but you just go, I don't know how to put it together. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if I can go back and study. That was a big thing for me too. Like, I was scared of going back and studying in my 30s. I don't want to be out there studying with all of these young people that are just coming out from school, because I find sometimes when you become that mum, maybe you step out of the workforce full time to become a full-time mum. And it's scary going back in the workforce. Maybe you're kind of just doing part-time. Everybody's in a different situation. But to some degree, it can strip away that confidence that you may have had when you were younger. And that was the place that I was at. I love my life. I love being a mum, but I just didn't really know who I was anymore. And I didn't really know, I guess I was just sick of the mundane rat race. I was sick and tired of just taking care of everybody else, which we love doing as a mum, but there's a certain degree that feels like a Groundhog Day. There's a certain degree going, oh my gosh, I just feel like I'm running people around all the time. I'm cleaning the house all the time. I'm trying to have this perfect home, this perfect everything. And we can put so much pressure on ourselves that we kind of forget who we are a little bit, or what makes us tick, or what is our spark, or what lights us up, what makes us happy, what do we want to do for work, and feel like we can kind of put things to the side a little bit. And then to top it off, I was starting to feel my body was starting to change a little bit. I didn't feel as attractive in myself. I was comparing myself to other women. And I was just struggling to find myself and find that time for me. And everything, I look back now, today as I sit here, I look back and I go, like behind the boob job, yeah, I had my boobs done. We were having fun. We were kind of drinking and socializing with friends. We were traveling. We were having a great lifestyle. Life was good. I know you don't have to have anything wrong with you to kind of feel that way. And everything I was doing, like, I was happy and I was enjoying life, but underneath I still felt a little bit lost, a little bit unfulfilled in myself. Like, I had this knowing that there was more for me to do, and I didn't know how to start, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So all of these things were coming up for me this morning on my walk, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have come so far in the last 7 years, kind of since that all happened. I have come so far, and I'm proud of myself for where I've come. And I feel like I was on this little bit of a threshold. And this morning when I got back from my walk and I was reflecting on everything that I went through, and you may be feeling exactly what I've described now. You may be feeling that right now. I mean, I'm 45 now. This is what I was kind of going through in my 30s, right? And so you might be feeling like you're at that stage at the moment. You might be feeling at that stage in your 40s. Who cares how old you are? We go through these different stages because we all have kids at different times. We may or may not have kids. We have different career, I guess, hurdles or lack of self-belief or limitations or things we want to do in our career, but we hold ourselves back with our limiting beliefs, with our fears, with these fears of not being good enough, not worthy enough, that sometimes you have to just kind of stop and look back and go, well, hang on a sec, look at actually how far I've come. So I had this moment this morning of where I was looking back at the woman that I was 7 years ago and compared to what I am now. I've come back from my walk. I have thought I had the house to myself. The boys had gone out to work and Riley's off on a camping trip, and I thought, it's Mercury retrograde. I'm going to dive into some self-care. And I went out, I made myself a raw cacao. Oh my God, just side note, I've got onto the best cacao. It's called Creation Cacao. I've fallen in love with it. It's so beautiful. It's ceremonial grade cacao. It's really pure and really raw. I'll pop some details in the show notes about that. But I'm not a coffee drinker, and so I love my raw cacao when I'm having my morning reflection or my morning rituals. And I made my raw cacao. I thought, I'm just going to go and sage, and I'm going to go and sage away all of these limiting beliefs that have been showing up for me as I've been reflecting on my walk and going, I'm not that person anymore, but there's an element of them that are keeping me stuck in the past. There's an element of them that are resurfacing now as we're going through this Mercury retrograde to highlight for me that they're coming up again in another different way as I'm about to embark on my next journey, on my next level that I want to step into, right? So I'm saging away, thinking about this old version of me, going, thank you for giving me this insight, but I am not her anymore. I'm letting go of that, just letting go of that ego keeping me stuck. Your ego has a way of keeping you safe and keeping you stuck and stopping you from moving on. The moment you can really start to trust in your intuition and your soul guidance in spirit, and the more that you start to trust in this intuition, the spirit, it's like a balance of the scales. The more you trust in spirit, the more your ego kind of subsides a little bit and the balance shifts. So you can be more in the ego of fear, of keeping you stuck, of keeping you safe, of keeping you comfortable. When you start to let that go little by little, it lowers, it reduces, it gets quieter, and your soul gets louder. And this comes from doing a lot of the inner work, which I will share a little bit with you in a moment. So all of these things were coming up and I'm saging them away, going, thank you for showing me that. I'm not that woman anymore. I'm letting go of my past fears. I'm letting go of those limiting beliefs, because if I let them get grip of me, they are going to keep me stuck from progressing into this next journey of my life. Thank you for highlighting that in this Mercury retrograde, because I need to look at it again to go, no, I've learned from that. I've worked through that in the past. I can work through that again. So I'm saging away, and then I had a feeling I just need to go and dive in the pool. I skinny dip. I love it. Not going to lie, not going to hide it anymore. And I just dive in because I just feel this beautiful cleansing, releasing sensation through my body. And as I come up for air, I just feel like, oh, I can just breathe. I feel cleansed. I feel nourished. And I did a few laps of the pool, just feeling that water of my skin, looking up to the morning sky, getting the rays of the light, just feeling this real beautiful cleansing, renewed energy. Come out, sat down in my little Zen zone out on my back patio. I light my incense. I turn on my little water feature out the back. I got a beautiful little waterfall, like a water feature with a Buddha on it. I love that. Turn it on. I just feel this beautiful ambience of peace. And no, my home's not like that all the time, girls. So don't be going, lucky for you. It's not like that all the time, right? I pick my moments. And sometimes I've got a house full of teenagers and it's just so noisy. But this morning was one of those nice quiet mornings, which was lovely. So I took advantage of it. And I'm out there. I pulled some oracle cards as I'm sipping my raw cacao. And I pulled a card, and it's a beautiful card, and it says on it, past. And again, I get that instinct like, okay, I don't want to dive back to the past. However, okay, just trust that it's shown up for a reason. And it said on this card, there is only one moment, the present. Still, paradoxically, your experience of the present is largely framed, shaped, and defined by your multi-layered relationship with the past. Your current situation has roots in the past. Enter the past portal so that you can examine these roots. So I have dove into this meditation, right? Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to tell you. It says also in here, filaments of the past exist in your DNA memory and spiritual blueprint. And you can change your relationship with all these things, which in turn you can change the things themselves. So the saying, you can't change the past, isn't precisely true. So what I take out of that is, you can't change the past. No one can change the past, but we can learn from it. We can take lessons from it. We can look at how things unfolded by decisions that we've made or actions that we've taken or not taken. And we can use them as a lesson to move forward and a lesson of how we can reshape our future by what we do in the present. So I've gone into this meditation, right? And this beautiful song come on in my meditation, and I think I've mentioned it before. It was a song called Queen of Peace, and it has in it words Maria, Sophia, which are my great grandmothers. And I've got goosebumps now as I'm sharing this with you, and I had goosebumps in my meditation, and it took me back through this meditation, guided me back through my past, maybe past life, maybe past what ancestors have been through, and just highlighted a lot of things for me. Let me just digress for a moment. So most people go into, I shouldn't say most people, everybody's different, but when you start off with meditation, like you start with the goal of just quietening the mind and connecting more with your intuition and just giving yourself space for your nervous system to calm down, giving yourself space to let ideas and inspiration and intuition come through. I have, like Jody, one of my spiritual mentors, kinesiologist, energy healer friends, highlighted in the last women's circle that we had just 2 weeks ago about chakras. We were talking about chakras, and she said, she was teaching the girls about chakras, and she was talking about the 7, and she said, but we have higher chakras. We have higher chakras, 8, 9, 10, and spoke about them. And she said, not everybody has those chakras open. She said, Lisa, however, has a lot of those chakras open. And so she receives a lot of intuition, a lot of downloads, a lot of guidance. So I have been working on a lot of this spiritual awakening, a lot of this psychic mediumship, I guess you would call it, for a number of years. Okay, so some of my meditations that I go through are quite deep and quite next level, and some stuff can come up for me in the past or what has happened generationally that I need to heal from. So my ancestors come up for me in this meditation this morning, and a lot of what come up was around fear of saying what needed to be said, fear of putting themselves out there and opening up from generations of maybe submissive women, of maybe just the times, right? It's just the times that were in the past. And a lot of this was coming up, and then this song come up for me, which was from that has my great grandmother's names in it, Maria and Sophia. I'm like, what the hell? And I had these visions of what they went through in different situations. And so a lot of the past come up, and I'm like, that's really fitting because we're going through Mercury retrograde. I feel like I'm in the threshold of stepping into something new. And I'm also feeling ready to take this next step, but I have to level up again. I have to clear some shit to get out of the way for me to level up. So that's why this is all coming up. And I was feeling quite emotional this morning as I was writing down everything of the past version of me. And I had a spiritual mentoring session with Kira on Thursday. I've spoken about her before, and I'm working with her again to help me really level up a little bit more and open that psychic medium ability to help with my healing, help with what I'm about to embark on, what I'm meant to do. And she said to me, I was talking to her about a few things that I feel stuck with in my business, and how it come up that I'm very comfortable in my community, and I'm about to kind of step into that next level to put myself out there fully in a wider community that's outside of my hometown, that's outside of my studio, but I'm afraid. And you kind of open yourself up to more judgment, you open yourself up to more eyes on you, you open yourself up to just this bigger, it's just scary, right? Putting yourself out there bigger, but it's something I know I'm meant to do. And Kira has said that to me. Jody has said that to me. Jody has said to me, I see you out there in a bigger capacity, sharing and speaking and inspiring so many more women. And I just see this big platform that you're speaking and sharing on, and part of me is excited and part of me is terrified. And so I was working through a little bit of that with Kira on Thursday, and it come up again. And she said, for you to really elevate yourself forward, and for you say, I'll give you an example. With my retreats, I said to her, I feel really comfortable with my retreats because I have women coming from my community who I know are a nice fit. I know them personally, and I know I'm very protective of that container in retreat, and I'm very protective of making sure that the women have this beautiful container that I'm working within. And I have to open myself up there bigger, because she said, more women need you. And for you to open yourself up, you have to strip back those fears again. And I took myself back to when I was running my PT business. And again, transitioning from my small home-based business into the studio, I was going through the same fears then as I am now. And back then, I had this fear of putting myself out there. I had this fear of, I guess, just really stepping into a bigger community and stepping into something that it's just the unknown, right? It's just putting yourself out there in the unknown. And she said to me, you have to let go of fear and put your trust back into spirit. She said, because your soul, your spirit has guided you over these past 7 years to where you are now. Your spirit is going to, your soul, source, whatever you want to call it, is going to provide women on that retreat that need to be there, that are going to hold that safe container for you. And it doesn't matter if they're not just people in your studio or in your community who you're ready to put yourself out there in a bigger capacity, but you got to get out of your own way. So that's why a lot of this past was resurfacing, and that's why I was looking back at this old version of me and who I used to be, and how I had to get myself out of that little funk and out of that safety comfort zone to go into my studio, right, and open up to a bigger community. And for me now, I'm sitting on that threshold again, where 7 years have passed, and we go through cycles. I've needed to look back at it again for me to go into this next phase of my business, and this next phase of what I'm meant to do, and this next phase of fulfillment, and re-look at it again. Who am I? What do I want? What makes me truly fulfilled? What do I need to shift in my life to open myself up to receive more of my soul's desires? And you know what really did it for me? When I look back then, one thing was definitely going on a retreat, was putting myself out there and going on a retreat and getting out of my comfort zone. But not just the getting out of my comfort zone. It was putting myself in a container where I was away of Groundhog Day. I was away of my mundane chores, as bad as that sounds. You do the same stuff on repeat. We all do to a certain degree. And I was away from the stress and tension of work, and being called on as, needed to be there as a mom, and what I was doing for work. We all have so many demands. And I removed myself from that for a whole week, and I just looked at what I needed and got back to looking at myself as this free-spirited woman. It gives you an opportunity when you go away on a retreat. It gives you an opportunity to let your inner wild, free-spirited woman emerge again. It gets you an opportunity to find you behind the layers of mother or partner, of whatever you do for work, your caregiver, a friend, supporter, whatever social media mask you wear. You get an opportunity to strip that all away, and for you to step into your true, authentic self and awaken her and get that life force energy back. And if you don't create space in your life, if you don't find that opportunity where you can open yourself up to receive, it's harder to let in your innermost desires and invite in that opportunity for change, because you just find yourself on repeat, just dealing with the same stuff day in, day out. And I looked back and I went, that retreat was life-changing for me. But it wasn't just the retreat. It was all the little things that I decided to do to give myself that little bit of space. It was finding time for For meditation, it was going to a class. I would go, I would go to my yoga class every week. I would go to a yoga class. It was finding that little bit of time where I would just start to journal. I didn't know how to journal. I would just pull out my journal. Sometimes I would write down affirmations of what I wanted to see myself becoming. I would write down affirmations of the woman I wanted to become, the mum that I am, all of these amazing things. I would start to write them down in my journal. And then I discovered the power of, the more I had time in quiet and time in solitude, the more my intuition would speak to me and give me ideas and give me clarity and give me visions of what is possible for me. So I started journaling my dreams, my goals, my ambitions, and just doing a lot of free writing. And that really helped me to discover who I was and what I wanted. I would go away for weekends. I would get those opportunities of just clocking off for the weekend. Many years ago, we were in network marketing, and I look back and I go, that was one of the best things I ever did. We were in Amway, and we used to go away for weekend conferences. And why I didn't want to pursue the business, I wasn't interested in the selling of the products. What I found was this love of personal development, and I found this love of reading again. I found this love of listening to audios, and I would say to Tom, I just don't understand why people don't get this. We would go away for these weekend conferences and just clock out for a whole weekend. And it was like every quarter we would come back with this renewed excitement, this renewed vision. It would give us an opportunity to kind of step away and write down what we wanted for ourselves, but just get out of the rat race for a weekend. And why I didn't want to pursue that business was fine. There were elements of that made me who I am now, because I think everything is a stepping stone. So wherever you are now, you look back at the journey that you've been on, maybe struggles that you've been through, maybe career roles that you've been through, maybe relationships that you've been through, and you go, okay, they might not have been right for me, but they have led me to where I am now. And there's elements of them that you can take out that you can be grateful for. You can look back and you go, I grew in strength in this area because this happened to me. So I do believe they're all little stepping stones along the way that form you into who you are meant to be, or who you're about to become, or lead you into a more fulfilling purpose. So I don't look at things as being good or bad or right or wrong, or I just look at them as being lessons and experiences. And yes, I know some of them are shitty lessons and experiences, but they wouldn't have happened to you if you didn't have the strength to deal with them, if you didn't have the strength to grow from them. And part of them might you might form part of your purpose into what you are meant to do. And if it's not right now, it might be coming for you down the track. So looking back at the past has an element of growth and has an element of reflection. I don't advise you get stuck back in there, because the past can form a lot of depression, and the future can form a lot of anxiety. So, we want to really live in this now and in this present moment. So I had to look at my present stuff this morning by that little bit of lesson from the past. And all of this was coming just from me kind of writing down about the woman that I was 7 years ago. And I took a moment this morning and I really felt proud of myself for where I've come in these last 7 years. I've still got dreams. I've still got things that I want to do. I've still got bigger ambitions, and I still have fears. I still have stuff to work through, as all of us do. And just know that you don't have to have anything wrong with you to want to improve your life. You don't have to have anything wrong with you to want to go on a retreat or want to do some inner work. But I guess the lesson that I want to leave you with today, it's not just about retreats. It's not just about looking at your past. It's about doing the inner work. It's about reflection, and it's about taking moments that you just pause. And it's okay to stop, girls. It's okay to stop and take a little breather. It's okay to rest. And this Mercury retrograde period or full moon periods, cycles that happen to you, maybe it's when you're on your period, maybe it's when you're sick, maybe these things are showing up to force you to kind of stop and slow down and reflect a little bit and look at what needs changing. But the inner work is something that we need to do forever. I will never feel at a place where I'm just there. I'm just done. I've just got it all. I just know it all. And I look at things as I look at life as being, I'm constantly going to grow and evolve, right? I'm not just going to arrive. Everything is going to continually expand. And I remember Tony Robbins saying, he said, one of the biggest things that we need to embody as a human is expansion, is growth and expansion. And I'm surrounded by a lot of amazing people. I'm kind of in this, I've got friends who are energy healers. I've got friends who are top psychologists. And I look at all of them, right? And even my friends who are psychologists, see psychologists. My friends who are energy healers, see other energy healers. We all need an element of coaching or an element of somebody else just to help us see the truth of who we are, to highlight some of the stuff that we won't work on ourselves. So doing this inner work, and you don't have to go to people every single day. Yes, that's an amazing thing to do. It's amazing to go on a retreat. It's amazing to have a weekly, a fortnightly, a monthly session with a healer or a psychologist. It's amazing to have all of these things, to go away on weekend checkouts for the weekend or a day retreat. They're all great, but it's what are you doing in everyday life as well with your things like listening to audios or reading books or just looking at what's happening to my life at the moment, what's coming up for me that I need to shift or I need to change or make a little adjustment on. It's this constant just evaluating and looking at how you can improve. And you don't need to have anything wrong to want to improve in yourself. But I do believe that all of us to some capacity have this knowing within ourselves that your heart desires for more. Your heart desires to shift. Your heart desires that you want to grow, you want to invite in new opportunities, whether that be in the form of relationships or health or money or finances or career changes or children or travel or joy. We all have this element of wanting more in our life, but sometimes we can push it to the back burner. We can bury it deep inside under layers, under masks of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough. Only that stuff happens to other people. It doesn't happen to me. All of these limiting beliefs that keep us stuck. And so by giving yourself these times where you just stop and you reflect and you look at your stuff, you look at yourself, it is such a great gift to give yourself, to welcome in change, to welcome in growth, to welcome in prosperity. And even if you don't go on a week-long retreat, even if you don't go on a weekend retreat or a day retreat, how can you have a little retreat at home, whether it's an hour, whether it's just a self-care day? It's getting away from the pressure of everyday life and the demands that everybody else puts on you, which sometimes you may take it on yourself. They might not put them on you, but you take it on yourself, to step back and to reflect and ask yourself the questions. Who am I? What do I want? Am I truly fulfilled? Are there things in my past that are coming up for me again that I need to look at? And all the things that I have just been through on this episode that I went through again this morning, to give yourself an opportunity to let that beautiful inner wild free-spirited woman emerge and get stronger and stronger and really live the life that you want to live, girls, because we are all born worthy. We are all worthy to have whatever our heart desires, but sometimes we just get in our own way and we get a little bit stuck. So I just want to give you a little bit of inspiration today to just pause and have a little look and have a little reflect and give yourself permission for a little bit of space to just open yourself up to receive everything that your heart desires, angels, because you can absolutely have it. Well, that's what I'm sharing today. That is what I have been through this morning. And I know that I'm just going to leave you with a little bit of insight for you to take out of that at the right time when you need it. So on that note, I am sending you so much light, so much love, so much inspiration, and I will leave it there, angels. Have the most beautiful day, and I will chat with you again very, very soon, my friends. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode and want more, feel free to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you listen to. You can also head over to earthyangels.com or join our private Facebook group, Earthy Angels Connect, for more community, blogs, updates, inspo, motivation, support, and to connect with a tribe of like-minded souls. And if you have a moment, we would be super grateful if you would love to leave a review. Sending you so much light and love, Angel.